bring it?
Yeah, I got it. Went through a lot of trouble to get this. God knows what it is. Why didn't you tell me?
If I had told you, do you think you would have shown up?
But why this?
Tyler, fishermen don't get respect for reeling in guppies. So we're hooking ourselves a shark.
But hasn't this one been hooked? By everybody?
Then call it an autopsy. There's no use in beating a dead horse, but there's no harm in examining the corpse. One more time.
Tim?
Surprised to see me?
Just surprised you signed on to this too.
Others have had the chance to smash this movie into the dirt. I think I should get a turn.
Shall we get down to business then? Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. A spectacle when I was a kid, I can now see with a revised analysis how many fanboys felt that their childhoods were mercilessly butchered by this movie, starting when the opening credits talked about taxes. Star Wars is a space adventure movie about heroes, not politics.
Why not? People hate taxes.
Tyler, unless you're going to talk seriously about it, please keep politics out of this review. Really?
Hey, this is my political mindset. Now then, taxes have pissed off people ever since the beginning of time. And at this time in this story, the Galactic Republic was in peace, dealing with no rebellion. So what do writers have to do with conflict without good versus evil? Taxes.
You can't be serious.
Well, of course not for Star Wars. That's a terrible idea.
Here we get a glimpse of what Jedi were during the time of the Republic. These two Jedi are Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Fans must have been excited about this when the movie first came out. You get to see Obi-Wan Kenobi in his younger days through this movie.
It's a pretty cool detail to pay attention to in the prequel trilogy. Young Obi-Wan and Old Ben do have some similarities with each other, but they do a good enough job at making the character younger. The two Jedi are sent to negotiate with the Trade Federation, who are blockading a planet called Naboo in order to solve the trade route dispute. How a blockade would solve a trade route dispute is about as clear as mud to anyone who doesn't know about international trade.
It was never explained, as negotiations never even took place. It's saying the Jedi were kind of a mistake, seeing as they're the keeper of peace, not politicians. I feel as if politicians should have been actually sent there. Like me.
And how exactly would you expect that to work out against a blockade?
Oh, you know. Aggressive negotiation.
Meanwhile, the Trade Federation discusses their ongoing blockade with their evil overlord and master, Darth Sidious.
Viceroy, I don't want this stunted slime in my sight again.
That looks a lot like Emperor Palpatine from the originals. Sounds a lot like him too.
Same character.
Next we see that the military of the bad guys in the prequel trilogy are battle droids. Keep in mind, this movie takes place 33 years before Star Wars A New Hope. That means that in the future, men were favored over disposable droids as a military. Just another example of how the prequel trilogy technology is more advanced than the stuff in the originals, which is supposed to be the future.
Well, have you seen these things?
Get out, Corporal. We'll cover you. Roger, roger.
Uh-oh.
Stormtroopers are a big improvement.
Now the Federation wants to invade Naboo, first knocking out the communications so Queen Amidala can't call for help. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan decide to stow aboard two separate ships and meet up with each other on the surface.
Problem, they could end up miles away from each other, as well as the capital city of Theed. But if one of them is captured or killed, the other might still have a chance to warn the Queen.
Except that the Queen already knows the invasion is coming. Even if the Jedi don't know that she knows, I think it's kind of obvious that the Trade Federation is gonna get there first.
But still, if they really hurry, they can make it. They gotta be quick and vigilant, and they have to make sure they have no distractions.
Oh, muy, I love you.
Naboo is doomed.
Here we come across Jar Jar Binks. My love for this character has completely deteriorated since my childhood. I shouldn't have to describe it. His voice, his mannerisms, his blatant idiocy in every situation he's put in. This character is an irritating dumbass.
Please don't point out everything stupid that Jar Jar does, or we're gonna be here all night.
To avoid the droids, Jar Jar leads Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon to the Gungan's aid, despite the fact that he's been banished from it.
And all of the Gungans are at least half as annoying as Jar Jar.
You are in big doo-doo this time.
The Jedi converse with the Gungans, warning them of the attack on the Naboo, but the Gungans seem not to care much about the surface dwellers of Naboo, an indigenous population that doesn't like the influence of man. I've seen that somewhere before.
They're savages, barely even human.
Nonetheless, the Gungans provide transport for the Jedi to get to Naboo. Jar Jar is to be punished for returning after his banishment. The Jedi needed a navigator, so Qui-Gon calls a life debt upon Jar Jar and demands Jar Jar's release.
Who wouldn't agree to something like that to get rid of Jar Jar?
Count me out of this one.
You ungrateful bastard!
So now they need to go through the planet's core. Ignoring the fact that this planet's core would be made of molten lava, all we see on this underwater trip is them getting attacked by sea monsters and Jar Jar freaking out.
Relax. You overdid it.
What?
Son of a bitch.
Good things only last so long. The Federation's plan now is to make the Queen sign a treaty that's going to make their invasion legal. Meanwhile, they haven't reported the missing Jedi to Darth Sidious yet because...
No need to report that to him until we have something to report.
Why?
Well, because they're afraid of him. They're afraid that if he finds out, he'll rip them a new one.
Psych!
Move against the Jedi first.
He already knows.
Once the Jedi reach Theed, they stalk a group of droids that is taking the Queen and her royal council to a prison camp. The droids go down without an issue. They go to the hangar to save some pilots and escape.
I'm ambassador to the Supreme Chancellor. I'm taking these people to Coruscant.
Coruscant, that doesn't compute. You're under arrest.
It's unknown, so it's automatically a threat. Does that sound familiar?
They're different from us, which means they can't be trusted.
They escape and fly straight towards the blockade. Well, maybe they have a really good pilot.
Shield generator's been hit.
Point withdrawn.
So a team of astromech droids are sent out to fix the ship. Among them is... R2-D2. Our favorite little droid from the original trilogy is back. But if he holds up for the next 30-odd years or so, that pretty much makes him the greatest droid ever created.
Apparently so. R2 fixes the shield generator only to have the ship escape with no further hits. But the damage done caused a leak in the hyperdrive, forcing them to land on Tatooine for repairs.
I'm seeing a lot of the stuff from the original trilogy in this film.
Nostalgia does a big part in carrying this movie. Meanwhile, Sidious is informed of the Queen's escape and sends someone after her.
This is my apprentice, Darth Maul.
Interestingly enough, the users of the dark side are finally given a name.
The Sith.
Honestly, that works pretty well. I think it's better than calling them Dark Jedi or Evil Jedi or Bad Jedi with red lightsabers.
Qui-Gon, tailed by Jar Jar, R2, and a handmaid named Padme, picks a junk shop to look into. The owner, Watto, is the only one with the part they need, so he claims. Unfortunately, Republic credits are not valid currency there, and Jedi mind tricks seem to be inconveniently failing.
Shouldn't the galaxy have some sort of foreign exchange system for situations like this? I mean, they have 20,000 credits, and I'm pretty sure it'd be exchanged for something like that to pay for the part they need.
Can't do that, I'm afraid. We're too busy with the introduction of Anakin Skywalker.
Are you an angel? What?
She's laughing. She is aware of how ridiculous that line is. Oh, Natalie, you should have gotten out when you had the chance.
They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. They live on the moons of Diego, I think.
This boy becomes Darth Vader, people.
So Jar Jar gets in trouble again. Shocker.
Die, 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 die!
Chesko Saboba.
I give up. Jar Jar will never get what he deserves in this movie.
Your buddy here was about to be turned into orange goo.
And if you'd only let it happen, the galaxy would be a much happier place. A sandstorm is coming, so Anakin offers shelter to the weary travelers. Anakin lives at home with his mother, no father, and we find out that he's building a protocol droid named 3PO. Anakin Skywalker is the inventor of C-3PO? Well, you know what, at least Anthony Daniels is still playing him.
Hello, I am C-3PO Human Cyborg Relations. How might I serve you?
While Jar Jar acts like an idiot at dinner, Anakin has figured out that Qui-Gon is a Jedi.
I saw your laser sword. Only Jedis carry that kind of weapon.
So they divulge the details about their damaged ship and find out that a dangerous sport called pod racing is a heavy gambling attraction on Tatooine. Anakin offers to help them by entering. His mom doesn't quite agree.
I don't want you to race. It's awful. I die every time water makes you do it.
I can't quite express the emotion to say that, but it's true. Qui-Gon agrees with the plan and talks to Watto about it.
My ship will be the entry fee.
He's betting the Queen's ship? Their only way off planet?
But then, Watto lets Qui-Gon know that he's betting on a different racer. Guess who? Now Qui-Gon is putting up Anakin's pod racer as a bet for Anakin and his mother, Shmi. Watto won't bet both, so he rolls a chance cube to determine which slave is being wagered. Qui-Gon manipulates the cube to land on blue, therefore decreeing that Anakin is free if he wins the race.
I know Watto betting on Sebulba wasn't really something Qui-Gon could have predicted, so this scenario is improbable, but hear me out. If Qui-Gon had agreed to the 50-50, he could have kept his half of the winnings, then paid Watto for the part, and then paid Watto the rest to buy Shmi. That way, Shmi would have been free, and Anakin wouldn't have later experienced a dramatic push towards the dark side.
But they couldn't, because they had to set it up so the events in the original trilogy could happen.
Qui-Gon is curious about Anakin's excellent perception of things around him, as well as the interesting bit about Anakin having no father. So he takes a blood sample and sends it to Obi-Wan through his comlink.
I need a midichlorian count.
The reading is off the chart. Over 20,000.
Midichlorians? What are those?
We'll talk about that later. The day of the pod race has arrived, and our heroes discover a faith shaker from Anakin.
You've never won a race?
Well, not exactly.
Not even finished?
Is it too late to bet on Sebulba?
The race begins. A shaky start befalls Anakin.
Sebulba will totally win. Look at that, he's clearly dominating the race.
Tim, there's no way Anakin can't win.
Oh? Why so?
Because they have to set it up, so the events of the original trilogy can happen.
No. No.
Fujo!
No. I've lost everything.
So did Watto. Congrats, Annie.
We owe you everything, Annie.
I never doubted you would win. Really? Then he comes home with the ecstatic news that the winning pod has been sold.
Mom, we sold the pod. Look at all the money we have.
Oh my goodness, but that's so wonderful, Annie.
Money makes me happy enough to give emotion. Qui-Gon informs that he plans to take Anakin to be trained as a Jedi. However, Anakin realizes that unlike him, his mom is still a slave.
That being the case, he's having second thoughts. Come on, Annie, you even say it yourself.
Look at all the money we have.
I think she'll be fine.
But she's a slave. How does she have her own money?
Oh yeah.
Upon leaving, though, Qui-Gon is attacked by Darth Maul. Holy cabooses! The lightsaber battles strike back for less than a minute. But that's okay, the trailer showed us a much cooler fight that's gonna happen later. The party arrives on Coruscant to meet up with Chancellor Valorum to schedule a session of the Senate for the Queen to tell of her planet's current state of oppression.
Join them as Naboo's own representative, Senator Palpatine. Wait a minute, I thought Sidious was Palpatine.
He's the same character too.
Qui-Gon has a meeting with the Jedi Council to discuss the attack upon him by Darth Maul.
My only conclusion can be that it was a Sith Lord.
The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
Ah, I think that's where Phantom Menace comes from. Since the Sith have been extinct for so long, they are classified as sort of ghosts or phantoms. So Phantom Threat, Phantom Menace, Ghost Threat. Still, that's kind of a complicated connection to the title. It was so much easier to do it with all the other movies.
The Senate is now in session, and Senator Palpatine presents Queen Amidala to the crowd to speak of what is happening on Naboo. The ambassadors representing the Trade Federation quickly object. Then Valorum calls for a commission to investigate the Queen's accusation, as it lacks proof. I call to the stand the Jedi.
I will not defer.
I call to the stand.
I was not elected to watch my people suffer and die while you discuss this invasion in a committee.
I call.
This body is not capable of action. I suggest new leadership is needed.
She's not calling the Jedis as witness, is she?
You are correct, sir.
But why? The Jedi were direct witnesses to the Federation's invasion. They landed on the planet in one of their ships. Screw the commission. The Jedi's testimony would have been plenty.
Then, Anakin is tested by the Jedi Council for his Force sensitivity.
A speeder.
I didn't know the Jedi have X-ray vision. However, in the end, the reason they deny him is...
he's too old.
That's unfortunately the way the Jedi work. Anakin's experienced life outside of being a Jedi. Being one requires dedication and harsh discipline from early childhood. Training him from age 9 would be filled with too much emotional instability.
Qui-Gon tries to take Anakin as his apprentice, but the council won't let him do that while Obi-Wan is still his current apprentice. So Qui-Gon offhandedly tries to dump Obi-Wan as a student in favor of Anakin.
Obi-Wan may display true Jedi dedication, and Qui-Gon states that he's ready to become a Jedi Knight. But shortly before the meeting with the council, Qui-Gon said this to him.
You still have much to learn, my young apprentice.
The Queen has a brief conversation with Jar Jar. The Gungan finally does something useful. Tells that the Gungans are warriors. So she packs up everything and heads back to Naboo. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are sent to continue protecting her.
Anakin tags along and asks about midi-chlorians. How can we?
Yes, Tyler. Now it's going to be explained.
Good. They keep on bringing it up. It's about time they explain it.
Midichlorians are a microscopic life form that resides within all living cells. Without the midichlorians, life could not exist, and we would have no knowledge of the Force.
So, you're telling me they turned the Force, a mystical energy, into science?
Are you happy now that you know the truth?
This was a heartbreaker for all Star Wars fans. It's like when your priest touches you in the naughty places. It's all wrong.
I need a moment.
Take as much time as you need, Tyler. They arrive back on Naboo, and only one Federation ship is left. What happened to the blockade, you may ask? In a scenario like this, I can imagine that the refs in the Senate gave the Federation a call. But why? The Senate knew about the blockade and they didn't do anything about it, so why? F it. The Queen's ship lands and sends Jar Jar down to rally the Gungans, but he finds no one there. Jar Jar then leads them to the Gungans' sacred place. Queen Amidala tries to reason with Boss Ness.
Don't call my name, don't call my name, Alejandro.
Only to have Padme step forward.
Who said this?
I am Queen Amidala.
What? She's 14. How was she elected?
Welcome back, Tyler. So now, they're united. The Gungans mobilize for a fight, and those mechanical cartoons can't resist another battle. That battle is a diversion to weaken the forces stationed at the city, so the group can sneak in easily and capture the Viceroy of the Trade Federation. While that's going on, the pilots of Naboo fly out into space to blow up the droid control ship, which would cripple the droids.
Isn't it kind of ridiculous to have 3 battles going on at the same time?
I wouldn't say that. They pull it off pretty well in Return of the Jedi. Four battles, however, might be pushing it. On the bright side, this is where the movie gets good. This is where all the action is gonna happen. Gungans versus droids, the Queen and Guards versus droids, Naboo fighters versus the droid fighters, and Jedi versus Sith. Say it with me now. Is about to go down.
Yeah, that was pretty badass.
Look at it again.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
Wow. Back when I was a kid, that seemed really funny. Now I just don't want to sit through it at all.
Don't worry, I'll make this quick. The Queen and her forces get captured briefly before her backup shows up and makes a comeback, rendering the Viceroy captured. Anakin cluelessly flies around, infiltrates the droid control ship, and blows it up from the inside. Jar Jar cluelessly bumbles around in battle, accidentally being a hero, until the control ship is destroyed and the droid shut down.
Now back to the good
Now this is where the real action is happening. And yet, not. The fights in the original trilogy had some level of intensity to them. It really felt like these fighters were at each other's throats, trying to kill each other. This is very clean and choreographed. It looks pretty cool, I'll admit, but it doesn't quite come across as a fight. It comes off more as a ballet. But then...
Holy crap! Look at Obi-Wan. He looks pissed off. When that ratio goes down, he's just gonna wail on Maul, isn't he?
I suppose it got a little more intense after that. Holy jeez! How's he gonna get out of this one?
Maul really didn't have time to catch that?
He expected a fall. Obi-Wan jumping out of the pit using the Force wasn't exactly a plausible scenario to Maul. Still, he had 4 whole seconds to process that Obi-Wan was jumping out of the pit. He could have at least moved.
He rushes to Qui-Gon's side. Conveniently, he is still alive to give Obi-Wan his dying words.
Promise me you will train the boy. Yes, Master.
This coming from the guy who previously said,
"The boy is dangerous."
However, the council agrees, and they all gather around for the funeral of Qui-Gon, where he is cremated. Wow, that was a pretty dismal note to end on. I mean, I know there were a lot of silly things along the way, but that was pretty serious. If they handled the rest of the prequel trilogy with the same seriousness they handled this ending... then I think we can expect similar results.
Way to pull a Bambi's mom on us, movie. I guess I can't blame them. This is pretty huge for Naboo. Stopping the blockade, uniting the Gungans with the Naboo citizens, and not to mention that Senator Palpatine is now Chancellor Palpatine.
And to top it all off, we get one last crazy costume from Queen Amidala. And then at last... it's over.
So what are the results of this autopsy? Stephen, what happened to your hair?
Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler. Was this movie torturing you so badly you didn't notice I was ripping it out this whole time?
Well, you didn't notice I was too.
what the hell have you been doing with your hair? So about the movie. When I was a kid, Star Wars was new and awesome to me. I experienced the prequels and the originals all at once, and I loved them all. Being older, I can see a lot of things wrong with Episode 1 now. It has very asinine and rushed writing at times, its performances aren't very exciting, and a general lack of effort in other areas makes it clear that George Lucas just doesn't care like he used to. But it's not all bad. Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor gave pretty good performances as Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Ian McDiarmid came back to play Palpatine in his younger days and did a really good job of playing a character that has a dual identity. Everything looks really nice, if not a little too nice, and in spite of the ballet moves, the lightsaber fights truly are back and better than ever. And of course, John Williams. The composer for the original trilogy graces our ears with more of his epic Star Wars music. If there is one thing nobody can deny about these movies, it is the brilliant music that fits perfectly to the badass moments of Star Wars. As for the plot holes in this movie, it's pretty ridden with them. Why aren't droids soldiers in the future? Because they're not very effective. When they land on Naboo, why'd the Jedi split up? To let one of them warn the Queen first, I guess. Why doesn't the Federation tell Sidious about the Jedi? Because they're scared of him. Why didn't Amidala call the Jedi to the stand? Because she's an idiot. Why did the rest of the Federation blockade just leave? I don't know. Case closed.
Oh my, this here Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later, now he's just a small fry. And he left his home and kissed his mommy goodbye, saying soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Did you know this junkyard slave isn't even old enough to shave?